What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards Football and Sports Talk Radio. I'll be your host and producer, Logan Landers, and join me here for episode 3 of our Big 12 weekly roundup, and also doing some game previews is our Utah expert, but also now our Big 12 expert here on the panel. It is Brandon Larson. Brandon, how you doing on this fine Tuesday afternoon? I'm getting ahead of myself here early on in the week. How you doing, man?
Good as a Tuesday can be, man. We got some good football coming up this weekend, and I'm excited to break it down because we got some good matchups.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. And we'll save this discussion for maybe end of the year. But everyone talks about the SEC and whatnot being up there with a lot of the big names and being in the top 25s and whatnot. But the Big 12, it seems like every week there's a brand new ranked team or someone who's moving up and up in the standings. And we try to cover as many of them as we can. We preview a 4-game slate, so you can guarantee if your team's ranked, we are more than likely going to be talking about you. Well, the Big 12, they have a plethora of those. But before we get into it, before we start the show and get our previews and predictions and whatnot, if you guys like the show, please go down in the comments section, like, comment, share, and subscribe on Facebook and YouTube. Go live there with our show each and every single week, every Tuesday. But we also have other shows as well, talking interviews. We'll talk about Tennessee in their weekly recaps coming up next. We got, of course, game previews, NFL and college, and tons of other, amazing interviews and stuff along that nature. Any football-related items, you can find it here on our channel. So, Brandon, let's get into it. Our first game we have up on the docket is going to be Iowa State taking on Colorado. Of course, Iowa State comes into this game ranked number 22 in the nation, 5-1 overall. Meanwhile, for the Buffaloes, they are 2-4. Still looking to pick up their first win in the Big Ten, currently 0-3 on the season. 3:30 p.m. kick, going to be in Boulder. How do you think this one is going to shake out for Iowa State? Or can Colorado potentially pull off the upset and get their kind of statement win of the season?
I'm leaning to Iowa State bouncing back from their tough loss in Cincy, just based on the way they battled back. I think they kind of got punched in the mouth by Cincy, and once they kind of were playing with nothing to lose, they closed that gap and dang near almost led that comeback. So I think if they can keep that level of play, I'd say they come out with it. But both these teams, it's kind of the same story: is the consistency. Can we see which team's going to put the best football for 4 quarters? Because neither team, I think, has done that yet, where they've played lights out on all sides of the ball for 4 quarters. They've showed flashes here and there, but that kind of comes down to what I'm seeing with them is the consistency with which team shows up. They can't come in overlooking, or like I said, the slow game plan that they had against Cincy. I don't think they can bring that in against Colorado, because Colorado, like you said, they're looking to try and get their first Big 12 win. And with Salter and company, I kind of feel like Colorado's too talented to be with the record that they are. I mean, they got dudes up and down the board, and especially with their coaching staff as well. I'm looking to see them put it together, but that's kind of where I lean to whoever puts it together for 4 quarters, because neither team, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't feel like I've seen either team just dominate for 4 straight quarters of football.
No, it doesn't really feel like it for either squad. And I'm going to talk about Iowa State first, because we know they lost their matchup against Cincinnati. And, I think that we said it on the program last week that Cincinnati was going to put up a good fight, but I don't think either of us picked the Bearcats to win that one. They are a good program, but man, they just came out the gate scorching hot. They scored 17 points in the first quarter. Hell, some teams don't even score that in a game, let alone, within the first 15 or so minutes. But,
Right.
That was just kind of – it was honestly the tale of two halves, right? So Cincinnati scored 17 in the first, followed up by 14 in the second quarter, but then only 7 points for the remainder of the game. So Iowa State, credit to them, they made some adjustments, and they were the better team after halftime, but that's just not how you win it. It's got to be a complete 4 quarters. And for the Bearcats, they were better, more so in that first quarter that carried on to the rest of the game. So congrats to them for their big win. They're 4-1 on the year, 2-0 in the Big 12 as well. But, looking just at Iowa State, some of the guys, the ones we talk about every week who kind of showed up, who did some good work. Of course, Rocco Becht, probably had to ice his arm down after the game. 48 throws for 30 completions, 314 yards, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. I mean, it's what you love to see. He kept it clean in the pocket. You can't really, put a ton on him. He did his part. As the quarterback for the squad. The running game overall did great as well. 156 combined rushing yards between Sama and Hansen, your main 2 guys there. Of course, we know Beck. He got 2 rushing touchdowns as well. So, he definitely had that, that captain or the MVP on his chest that day.
Yeah,
doing all he could for the team, but just wasn't enough. But I mean, obviously, we know the big factor. We know the offense. They put up 30 points, which is always impressive. Brett Elskinen, he had a phenomenal game, over 100 yards and 8 grabs. But look, man, it's the defense. Defense really hurt this team. I mean, there's no, ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, the receiving, in terms of Cincinnati, Sorsby looked solid, 214 for 2 touchdowns. But the running game is really what killed him. 34 carries on the day for 260 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, it's hard to win any ball games when you're giving up that amount, on the ground. They average 7.6 yards per rush, which, I mean, is insane. Evan Pryor, I mean, just jumped off a bunch of draft boards, 10 carries, 111 yards. And Walker as well, 14 carries for 89. Not too shabby himself either.
Well, and Sorsby had all the time in the world in pass protection, too.
Exactly.
He was sitting back dealing.
He was. And, I mean, when you look at the game, the funny part about it, though, is you think, oh, yeah, they run the ball a lot. No, I mean, Cincinnati actually lost the time of possession. Iowa State won that matchup 34, nearly 35 minutes compared to only 25 for Cincinnati. So that just tells you, man, lightning quick, just rushing, getting to the ball, boom, 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 one play after another, get you off your feet, and, make sure that you can't really breathe until you get the next play going. And I was very impressed with Cincinnati. I can't wait to talk more about them in a later matchup. But for Iowa State, I think they're going to come out. They're lucky that they're still ranked. A lot of people thought that they would be out of maybe the top 25, but the pollsters suggested otherwise. And now talking about Colorado, a team who they beat they've beaten pretty much the teams you expect them to beat, right? Wyoming's and Delaware. I mean, come on, they're expected to beat those clubs, but
they struggled with Delaware.
I mean, and that's the thing; they struggled too. It wasn't like they handily beat them. They beat them by 40 or whatever. But against TCU last week in their most recent matchup, I mean, I mean, the first and third quarters, no team scored. So, I mean, if you want to go get some popcorn or something during those quarters, you picked right. You mentioned Caden Salter, just a tough day. Comparing it to Rocco Beck, 2 touchdowns, 3 INTs, not what you want to see. And we know Colorado struggled with quarterback play all season. You were hoping, if you were a Buff fan, that this would be the one where maybe Salter breaks out. Wasn't quite the case. Running game, 35 carries for $126. Kind of did all you could there. Like the defense, anytime you get up 30-plus points, it's going to be some weak areas right there. No INTs on the day for them. I also don't believe they had any they did not have any fumbles as well. Actually, no, they had 3 fumbles on the day. They lost one of them. So they just struggled. They're just straight up. They haven't gotten a Big 12 win. And I don't know if this is going to be the one to do it here against an Iowa State team, Brandon, who is looking for a point to prove after a tough loss against a rival, right, and against a Big 12 opponent. What does Colorado? I mean, do you think Colorado has a chance? Is this going to be another case of maybe you kind of underestimate the team going against Iowa State, or do you think that the Cyclones will kind of break it off this week and get back to the way that a lot of people think that they should be playing? That's at a top tier level.
I mean, I wouldn't say they don't not have a chance. Colorado's definitely got a chance. It comes down to Salter though, and how well he performs. Watching how, like I said, Brandon Sorsby, he was sitting back there dealing and was under no pressure. And so if Colorado's able to protect him, I could see this game, I could see Colorado keeping up in a bit of a shootout type of game. Mm-hmm. But like I said, the way that I think Iowa State's defense got checked early and then made adjustments late, I expect them to come in with some fire to, remind people why they're ranked. And that's mean, that'll lead me into my prediction there. I've got
Yeah.
Iowa State winning in this one 35-21.
Okay, yeah, I'm pretty much there with you. I got slightly different score. I'm going to go Iowa State in this one. I think they're going to go for 38, and I think that Colorado, I'll go 21. I think Iowa State's got, they're pissed off this week, so I think I think that'll reflect in their play. Offensively, we know that they've got good weapons, and defense, I think that they're going to pick it up this week. So we will see. Once again, 3:30 kick out there in Colorado. Check it out. All right, next game we have up on the slate, we have Kansas coming in. This one 4-2 on the season, 2-1 in the Big 12. And the number 9 team overall in the nation, perfect 5-0, Texas Tech. They've won both of their Big 12 games this season. This one's going to be in Texas, so Red Raiders have the home field advantage for this night game here this upcoming weekend. Do you think they're going to keep rolling and maintain their top 10 ranking, or do you think that Kansas, who has a good amount of players on both offense and defense, and is a solid team with a above 500 record, that they have a chance to pull off the upset this week? Because we see them pretty much every week now. It feels like for this season, where an unranked team, a la Kansas, could potentially knock off a highly ranked team in Texas Tech. Do you think that the Jayhawks have a chance this week to pull it off?
I mean, to me, it depends on what Jayhawks team shows up. They've had some, up and down games. Jaden Daniels, he's playing really good football right now. And so they've got what it takes to keep up in a shootout with Texas Tech, but it'll come down to in the trenches who can protect them. Like if they can protect Daniels, then I can see it being more offensively based back and forth. But let's also be real here. So far, now we're week 6. Texas Tech has shown that no one has bullied them in the trenches yet, or even not gonna say not gotten close, but the best team that's done it so far was the Utes, and they faltered at the end as well. So I think that's where it starts, and ultimately I think Texas Tech will be too much, but I think Kansas can put up a fight if they can keep either move the pocket, moving the throwing platform for him. He can't just sit back there and be trying to dill from the pocket, because they're going to get to him that way. But like I said, if Kansas can keep him upright, I think they've got a chance. But man, at Texas Tech on the other side, they're just as real. Morton is dealing. Yeah, what is it? Eakin and Douglas, they're top 2 wide receivers right now. Like it's kind of a pick your poison on who you're gonna double team on third down, or who you think is gonna be their go-to guy. And they've done a good job of switching it up and also taking what the defense has given them there. And then that defensive line, they have yet to be pushed around by an offensive line. So like I said, it's going to come down to a lot of moving the pocket and getting things, RPOs and using Daniel's, mobile and dual threat ability to spread Texas Tech out. Because if they just try to line it up and run it down their throat, Texas Tech will eat them for lunch.
No, I feel you on that. And I'll talk about the Red Raiders first, transition over to Kansas. And look, man, Texas Tech, I think, is as good as any team right now in any conference, how well and how stacked they are on, all sides, offense, defense, special teams. There's a reason that they are ranked as high as they are, and they might not be done rolling up those rankings by the end of the year, Brandon, with how good they've played. They have yet to allow more than 14 points this season against some good teams, against ranked teams. Only 14 points twice, and that's your season high 6 weeks in. That's
holding the Utes
impressive.
to 10.
Yeah,
the Utes they're averaging 39 on the season, so that's no easy feat.
No, that was great doing with them. Of course, we know they also got impressive wins over teams like you said, Utah, of course, but they beat up Houston, they beat up the rest of the teams they should. Like Oregon State, Kent State. And they're scoring points in bunches. Like I said, with Morton, who's looked fantastic in the pocket, threw for 345 in the game against Houston. There's not much more you can say for that. Kept it clean as well. The running game is good too with Jacoby Williams. He had a great day. 2 touchdowns against the Cougars in their most recent matchup. You mentioned Douglas, Eakin, both those guys. You don't know. And that's the thing too, is that Texas Tech, they're also balanced, right? I read the top 2 guys there, but they'll toss the ball to whoever's open. It's not just lock eyes on insert player here and go for them. It's whoever's got the best option, and credit to Morton, for really doing that. Of course, we know the defense is top notch. Guys like Roberts and Rodriguez, Curry, McCarty, Holmes, and so on and so forth. It's hard to stop them. No one's been able to crack that defense yet, and I feel like
they keep their foot on the gas on offense. They're not afraid. Like for 4 quarters, they are trying to score points on every drive. And I love that mentality. I respect it.
Yeah, there is no experimenting with this offense. You know what I mean? It's just we're gonna do what works, and we're gonna beat you in the head with it. It works. It's working so far. Now talking about Kansas, good. I think it's gonna be a good matchup, honestly, because we have a really good quarterback battle. You mentioned with Daniels, who has done some good things on the year. Kansas, in their last game, they beat UCF. Close game on that one, 27-20. Overall, a lot of people maybe thought that Kansas would have beaten them by a little bit more, but hey, a win's a win. You'll take it nonetheless. No touchdowns for Daniels on the ground or through the air. The main MVP was, you could say, LaShawn Williams, 3 touchdowns for 58 yards, 12 carries. Just right there, just run it in, big fella, and you get some touchdowns is how they got it done. But hey, it's kind of like that old school way of playing as well. Kansas, they got, like I said, Daniels is thrown for a lot of nearly as many touchdowns this year as he had last year, give or take. You're close enough to it,
and way less interceptions.
That's been the main thing. He's kept it clean. He's kept it. We haven't really seen a game from him yet where he's just throwing pick after pick after pick. So that's helpful as well. Like I said, defense. You got some good players like Lathan, of course, Trey Lathan, Rolls. They've guys like Jalen Dye, Tommy Dunn, guys who can get to the quarterback. I think this is going to be a good matchup, Brandon. I'm going to go final score in this one. I'm still going to go Texas Tech because, like I said, no one's been able to crack that defense yet. I can't pick against them in good conscience, knowing that no team scored over 14 points so far this season. So for that reason alone, I'm going to go with the Red Raiders, but I will see this one being closer, and I do think that Kansas will be the first team in the nation this year to kind of get through that defense a smudge. I'm going to go final score. Give me 21 for Kansas and give me 38 for Texas Tech. I think the offense will look solid.
Dang, you would have thought we crossed notes earlier, but we really didn't.
We did not plan this.
But I'm right there with you. I'm Texas Tech. I got Tech 38-17. I think that defense gets to them. Like you just said, it was the running game that brought them back in the game versus UCF.
Yep.
And if it wasn't for that running game, UCF wins. So, and I just don't expect them getting the holes they got against Texas Tech. That's what their line is real, and you're not going to run through it. I think they're scoring more. I gave them the 17 points, the most anybody scored on them, based on basically on Daniel's ability, his dual threat ability to just make plays. But yeah, 38-17 Tech.
Okay. Sounds good. That one. We'll see how it goes. Drop your comments, of course. Drop your predictions in our comment section for each game. And we will we'll see. We'll compare notes come Sunday. All right, next game we got here. BYU, the Cougars, number 18 overall, taking on the Arizona Wildcats. Coming into this game, BYU, good season overall, 5-0 undefeated for Arizona. Good season as well, 4-1. Only blemish comes against Iowa State, who we just spoke about. Brandon, I'm liking this game. We got 2 great quarterbacks going at it in the Big 12. Of course, this game is going to be in Arizona, by the way. So much love out there for the Wildcat fans. You're going to be pumped for this one, I know. How do you see this one shaking out, man? BYU, number 18, look great so far this season. But Arizona, man, they're not ranked, but they're hanging neck and neck with a bunch of really good opponents. They got beat up by Iowa State, but Iowa State we know is a good team. We've talked about that before. Does Arizona, are they the one team to pull off the upset this week, perhaps?
I definitely think they got to be on upset watch. This isn't going to be an easy game for BYU. Probably going to be the most that they've been challenged up to this point. And that's just based on watching some of the film from the West Virginia game. Bear threw up a few of those balls that ended up being positive plays based on Chase Roberts making a play. But if you do that against better defenses, those aren't gimme balls. Those are because a couple of them was underthrown, and he mossed him just straight up. And so it's like without Chase Roberts making a play that's probably picked. There at the end, they gave up. They gave up one of their interceptions should have been a touchdown. Let's be honest. It was a perfect ball by I'm forgetting his name now. Wilkins put it right on the money, and he bobbles it up around, and then pretty much just hands it to the safety. And it's like that was a perfect ball, a perfect read. That should have been a touchdown for West Virginia, and it ended up being a turnover and what turned into a scoring drive for BYU. So they got lucky in some regards on that. I actually, like I said, I dang near almost called the game. I called 35-17, and it was 38-17 there at the end until they gave up that last touchdown. So I seen it. I seen some of what West Virginia put together against Utah there at the end, and I called it. I said, hey, did they find their quarterback? Looks like they did. Wilkins is their dude. And like I said, he made some plays, but didn't get some help from his receivers there. And against better teams, they're gonna punish you with those mistakes. They're not gonna just hand you the ball on the goal line. And that's where, like, I don't want to say it, but also it's a trap game a bit, because are they going to be looking ahead because they know who's coming into town next week? And we'll be covering that game, but that's why I say it could be a trap game, is because if they look ahead, Arizona is no pushover of an opponent by any means.
No, I mean, and my thoughts on BYU, I mean, we both picked them to beat West Virginia last week, and they did. They took care of business, right? Won by 14 overall, but they didn't look great in the second half. First half, they looked solid. Second half, the first half, they scored 28 points compared to only 10 in the second half. So hopefully you can kind of knock that off coming into this game. Have y'all played equal 4 quarters for this one. Bachmeier, like I said, did some great work. Obviously, 18-25, 351. Not a whole lot more you can ask from him. Had the one pick. I mean, that, one of the few blemishes we've kind of seen on his record all season. Chase Roberts proving to be one of the best kind of, when the moment gets bright, he steps up. I mean, 4 catches for 161 yards. And also shout out Parker Kingston as well. 4 catches for 111 right there with them. So like we talked about with BYU, you don't know where they're going to toss the ball. Those are obviously your main 2 targets, but I mean, LJ Martin got 2 passes. Carson Ryan, Tiger Bachmeier, also great name and brother right there. Right. Cody Hagan. So, I mean, you're just tossing the ball all over the place, and that's why BYU's undefeated. Defense, like I said, defense was fine. 24 points, kind of led up towards the end there. You lost in the second half, 14-7 in terms of points. But still, like I said, overall, very good day. 24 points, usually that's a little bit more you want to give up, but you can still, manage to win games when your offense is good. As it has been. But I will say, when you look at the stat sheet here, Brandon, there's no sacks for BYU against West Virginia. Kind of surprised by that. Shout out to the big guys up there for the Mountaineers, keeping their quarterback clean, like you said, with Khalil, and hopefully he's going to be the next guy up for West Virginia that they figured out this season. We'll see. But no sacks on the day. BYU did get 2 picks, so that's how you got them with Alexander and Wall. Both those guys were able to.
How quick did they lose Kelly? I can't remember when he went down in that game, but I feel like that affects, because I want to say Kelly, well, he leads the team in sacks, doesn't he?
I believe so. Jack Kelly, like I said, he played. I don't see exactly when he went down, but I mean, he has 4 sacks on the season. The senior does. I mean, he's obviously a mainstay for the program. But hopefully, he'll be back and on the field sooner rather than later. But I think BYU, like I said, took care of business. It wasn't as dominant as we assumed. Like I said, he put up 38 points, but we still think, you could do better than that. But we just know we both see the potential for the team. And for Arizona, I want to talk about them real quick. Just beat the hell out of Oklahoma State. I mean, it's rough. But Fafita, I mean, he's got a lot of preseason hype, kind of the last 2 seasons, but especially coming into this year, I think a lot of people really kind of put him on that watch list. I mean, he took care of business, 28 for 38, 376, 5 touchdowns, and one interception. But hey, it's all right. When you throw for 5 touchdowns, I feel like you're allotted one
You're
pick.
allowed to,
I think
yeah.
you're
I'll
allowed
take
to.
that all day. 5-1 all day. I'll take that one interception at a 5-1
No,
ratio.
and now look, I will say, look. Obviously, the passing game was the main go at it, but I will say, Brandon, the running game kind of worried a little bit because they ran the ball 34 times, 33 times, rather, excuse me, for only 45 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, and granted, you had a couple of negative plays with Locke, Fafita, obviously, drop, those combined 25 yards, give or take. But I mean, that's still running game. If you're Mahdi or Yarbrough, you got to hope that this upcoming week you got to do a little bit better. Maybe if maybe the holes won't be as clogged in the trenches. But I mean, that's kind of the one weak spot you could say for the Arizona team. All in all, defensively did fine. They had a couple fumbles as well. That they couldn't keep it. They lost one, recovered one. But I think the defense did great. They had 3 sacks on the day for them. They had 5 passes defended, 1 interception there from Javion Cole. So I mean, they were rolling it. Look, Oklahoma State's had a tough year, right? We haven't talked about it much because it's been a rough year for the Cowboys, unfortunately. But I don't know how I'm going to roll with this one. I might be leaning towards upset here, Brandon. We haven't picked a whole lot of upsets yet because it's tough to. But I think just with the way the college footballs looked this year, I might go with the Wildcats getting the win in this one. I'll go for my prediction first. I'll go close one, right? I'm going to go, give me 27-24, maybe a walk-off field goal for the Wildcats to bring it on home. I think, like I said, it could be a shootout. You could also add 10 points to each of those, and I think it'd still be about the same. But I think that, I don't know, maybe because we see sometimes too, right? We expect, it's a high-scoring matchup. It's going to be, 500 yards for each quarterback or whatever. But sometimes that's just not the case. Sometimes the defenses really show up when they need to. So for me, I will be on upset alert. I'm going to go with the Wildcats. I'm going to roll with them, pull off the upset over BYU, but I think they're going to put a hell of a fight, and I'm excited to see how this one's going to roll. What are your thoughts on this one? Final prediction.
I mean, I agree. Definitely got to consider the upset. I'm actually going to lean BYU though. I think they might get checked early, but they're going to pull it together. I think defensively they're stout and they can control the line of scrimmage against Arizona. And so it'll come down to, can Noah Fafita make enough plays? And the biggest it factor, I'm more confident picking BYU if I knew for sure if Jack Kelly was in, I'd say then yeah. But I'm going to go BYU. And I think that's partially because I want to see him undefeated the following week. Again, we'll cover that one. But that would be, I got BYU 24, Arizona 17.
All right, we will see how it goes, and of course, our main event. Whenever they're available to play, we're going to talk about them. It's Brandon's team, and they got a good matchup this week. Arizona State taking on Utah. Late night game here, 10:15 kick Eastern time, with the Utes and the Sun Devils coming into this matchup. Arizona State currently ranked number 21 on the year, 4-1 on the season, and Utah currently unranked, also 4-1 on the season. Difference though. Arizona State 2-0 in the Big 12 compared to Utah being 1-1. And Brandon, do you think that has to do with the rankings right now as to why the Utes aren't in that top 25 and why Arizona is?
Yeah, I didn't think that on that side of things, but that actually makes sense. Other than still your one loss is to a ranked opponent compared to a non-ranked opponent, but I guess if they're 2-0 in division, that would be the extra edge in the Big 12 that would give them the ranking.
Yeah, and we're going to get into this game here, but let's talk about Arizona State, right? Arizona State, a team who, like I said, also this game's going to be in Utah, by the way. So if you're in the area, you can check this one out. Late kick here, so going to be a very nice nighttime game. Arizona State, last couple games, Brandon, it's been some close ones. 27-24, the final for their last 2 ball games against Baylor and against TCU. TCU ranked number 24 when they beat them. And now they're going up against Utah before they start going on a tear here against Big 12 opponents. But talk about the Sun Devils in here, and what challenge do you think the Utes defense is going to face with Arizona State?
So biggest thing the Utes have got to worry about is containing Leavitt. I think you've got to keep him in the pocket, so you've got to rush as a unit. because we've seen he can make, he can make plays with his feet, and if he gets outside the pocket, he's pretty good at finding Tyson somewhere downfield. So I think that would be kind of the biggest thing is not letting Levitt be the playmaker, maybe more so force him to be just the distributor, the point guard, getting the ball out and then swarm into the football, kind of play, technical sound football, yeah, in that regard. But I'm excited about the matchup with Jordan Tyson and seeing Snowden and Jackson Benny. Benny's leading the team in interceptions. Snowden's proved to be a pretty capable lockdown corner. So, if there's somewhere you put it on tape that you want to show, you can run with the best, then here and now is where it's at. As far as Snowden putting it on tape for a future NFL draft stock. If you go lock down Jordan Tyson, hold him under 100 yards receiving, I think that's a win the way that he's been playing. And then on the flip side, I called it too. The difference was the TCU game the last time we saw Arizona State in action, but it was their defense and can they get home on the quarterback, which they did. They got to Hoover. They forced some turnovers and some erratic throws that really was the difference in that game. And that'll be the other matchup there is our offensive line. They're a blitz happy defense. They're going to come after you, and it'll be how well can they hold up and protect Dampier. And they got dudes like we got John Henry Daly. The Utes have JHD, but they got Keyshawn Elliott and Clayton Smith are both tied for sack leaders on the team with 4 apiece. So like they've got multiple guys, and then another guy that had 3. I can't remember who it was, but they've got multiple guys that can get after the quarterback. So that'll be kind of the big thing there. And this is going to be their biggest challenge because, like you said, they didn't get a whole lot of sacks. Against who was it? Mississippi State. They didn't get home, and that's their one. That's their one blemish on the season. So, looking at it, that's going to be kind of the biggest determining factor there. And then on the flip side with Utah, that offensive line, can they protect? Can they hold up against the varying blitz packages that Arizona State's going to bring at you? I tried to get deeper into it, but how is Arizona State's left tackle highly ranked? I didn't have him on my radar, so I'm interested to see how the John Henry Daly handles that matchup because I don't think he's as good as the tackle that that Texas Tech had, and that tackle didn't have an easy game versus John Henry Daly. So that's going to be a matchup to watch, and then again watching the Snowden Tyson matchup that we've got guys that can pick the ball. They've got guys that they want to stretch the field. So, who's going to win those 50-50 catches? Usually it's Tyson, but we got 2 dudes that they know how to come down with the ball too. So I think that's going to be a heck of a matchup. And then, shout out to the other, like the rest of the D line. Like I said, we've got to contain them. They gotta keep Levitt in the pocket and contain lanes, because if Levitt gets out and makes plays, it's going to be, he's diced us up before. And that's kind of where I lean to. We got wrecked last year, and not a lot of times do you see multiple big blowouts. Like usually Whittingham corrects a big blowout loss from the following season. So I expect it to be a heck of a game. It's 8:00. Rice Eccles is going to be rocking, so the crowd will be into it. And if the Utes, that what they fixed and what they showed against West Virginia is they did find more of a downfield threat. They showed they can attack the field vertically, and I think they're going to need to keep it up to win this game.
Both these teams are coming off bye weeks, so that is going to be important to note if they are off to a slow start, because they didn't play last week. They got a chance to relax, take it easy. So we'll see who comes out the gate, just with the right foot forward. And on the season, like I mentioned with with Arizona State, they have they pulled off the win against TCU, a ranked opponent, at time 27-24. But then you come back, you beat Baylor by the same score as well, and we know Baylor isn't. They're a good team, but they're not that upper echelon type team, right? That they've had some good moments, but overall, you would have thought that a team like Arizona State would have beat them by a little bit more. We know that they won, against TCU with that late game field goal. I think it was 23, 24 yards, right around that range. Sam Levitt, right? We know what he can do. We know he's a solid quarterback overall. If there is one factor you guys can get to, if you're Utah, you can get to the sack. TCU had 4 against them in their most recent matchup. So if you can create some pressure with your big guys up front, the D line, you might be able to maybe not stop him, but definitely slow him down and kind of grind that offense to a halt. Like I said, get your markers out, highlighters, whatever you want to call them. Get Jordan Tyson. That's your main target, number 1 right there. Brown probably number 2 with how well he's played, and then it's kind of just a hodgepodge of whoever else at that point, because they're those are your main 2, followed up by just kind of whoever else is there. Let's say Brown is that type of running back where he can get it done. In the rushing game, he ran for 134 in his last game, or he can get it done in the passing game also. He's that kind of dual hybrid running back that you see more and more nowadays. So Arizona State, they've got good players on both sides of the ball. Like you said, their defense overall, they do some good work as well. They had 6 sacks overall, did Arizona State. So I mentioned their O-line, or excuse me, their O-line struggled a little bit, but their D-line made up for it.
It did.
So, I mean, this is, we always, we talk about it, but I mean, this really feels like it's going to be which ones up front 7 are going to be more game, right? It's going to be the O-line and the D-line who holds on. Dorba, 3 sacks against the top 25 opponent. That's going to get you some looks. That's going to say, all right, let's check this kid out later on in the draft. Obviously, we'll cover more of these players as we get close to the draft period, but it's just interesting to see, as the season progresses. You can find these names and say, oh, hey, I remember when this guy had a great performance in, week 5 or week 4, and we talked about him, and we'll talk more about the, individual players as the years go on, or as the weeks go on. And as for Utah, right? Off last week, you beat the hell out of West Virginia the week before, 48-14, which you love to see. And I mean, you brought up all their high points, obviously, and you look solid against a team who you should have beat by a lot, and that's exactly what you did. Like I said, with Parker, guys like, of course, Dompier, quarterback, who looked great, 4 tutties, 1 interception, 21-26. You got to build off of that performance as well as you can. Bye week, I don't know if it was going to hurt them because of how well you played. You want that momentum to carry over after some rest. Hopefully it does for your sake. But
we needed it for the health factor for sure.
Exactly, for that too. I mean, the running game, with Parker, Rogers, Dompier again got into it. I mean, they just had a bunch of guys running all over the place. 242 on the ground for the Utes. And Ryan Davis, great day. I mean, on the receiving core. Defense, as you alluded to, got some good work. Got to work on, only 1 sack against West Virginia. Hopefully you can pick that up against Arizona State, who we talked about is kind of prone to giving up some pressure, some tackles for loss, some sacks. So it's going to be interesting, Brandon. I'm going to give my score first, and I'll kick it off. I'll hand it over to you. You can end the show here. But for me, I don't know if you're going to give me an evil eye or what, but I'm going to have to go with Arizona State picking up the close one in this one. They've won 27-24 last few games. I'm going to go keep it away the same. I'm going to go 24-21 in my prediction. Okay. So got a close one, a little bit lower scoring, but I think it's just going to be a bunch of guys slugging it out in the trenches. It ain't going to be pretty, but I think it's going to be some good football to watch. Once again, 10-15 kick this week. So let's get your thoughts. Are you going to go with the home team? Are you going to go with your favorite to win it, or do you think that Arizona State just has the advantage?
No, I am leaning Utah. I think the Utah line is able to keep Dampier upright, and he's able to move the ball both with his feet and his arm. And then I think we can get out on him quick, and then put him into kind of one-dimensional, have him passing and trying to kind of essentially catch up like they have. That's where I watching the games and I look at the teams comparatively. The Utes, other than the Texas Tech game, which we were in it until the very end, we haven't had any ups or we haven't had any ups or downs. Where Arizona State, they were down in that game, they had to come back. And credit to them, they did, and they're more tested that way. But also, does that mean there's more faults in the line there? That's kind of how I see it. Is Utah is a more solid team. and I think they proved that on Saturday. I take Utah's line both on offense and defense, so I think we win in the trenches. And like I said, I like our defensive skill guys to match up with theirs. I mean, we got ball hawks on the back end, and they like to toss it up. So I don't expect them to get all those down. And I mean, the big matchup is if Snowden matches up with Tyson. I mean, where do they really go? Because that's Levitt's favorite target, and he's not going to have a whole lot of time to not, his first read isn't open. He's not going to have a whole lot of time to get through his reads. I promise you that. I'm going Utah 38, Arizona State 28. We kick a last minute field goal to make it a double digit win at the end.
All right. We'll see what happens. Drop us a comment, Facebook, YouTube. Let us know. Also, go download our podcast every single week, just audio versions of all of our video shows that you watch here on the channel. Once again, Brandon Larson, man, appreciate you coming on the show for our third week here talking to Big 12 and all their matchups. Once again, if you have a game you want us to cover next week, please drop it in the comment and we will put it in our rotation. If not, then we're just going to keep rolling with a lot of the highly ranked teams, obviously. Utah's going to be in there, or else Brandon's going to walk off the show, I think. But I think
I'm still here, but I think we're one of the top teams. So
all right,
they'll be here by the play on the field. I'll be here because I love talking football.
That works for me. Well, for Brandon Larson, I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers. Guys, enjoy your weekend. Watch the Big 12 football. Until next week, we'll see you again on